welcome to Convos on the Couch, where we talk to some of the leaders in the industry across the board, but really big privilege today to have Andrew Chapman, who's the CEO of Major Contractors Association, probably in the biggest boom period coming up over the next sort of 5 or 6 years for Queensland, southeast Queensland, but also, I suppose, the whole of Queensland, really. No, really excited to have you on the couch and big tasks ahead of the major contractors.
No, it's big tasks ahead of the industry. Thanks, Tom, for having me. I'm a bit new to all this podcasting stuff, so thank you very much. Yeah, it's a big opportunity for the industry. I said a couple of years ago, it's like a golden decade, and that doesn't mean that it's a golden decade of running out and making super profits. It's a golden decade of being able to deliver.
Yep.
And that means we can invest in new technologies, productivity, people. And, you know, when you consider the pipeline in front of us, there's 140 plus billion to be delivered over the next 6 years. Now, that's everything, funded and unfunded, but at least 70% of that is funded work.
Yeah,
and
it's unbelievable.
Yeah, it is. I would say it's unprecedented. It's interesting. In the period when we did the last big construction boom, which was 2010-11 to 2016, when we did the energy and resources work, 3 big CSG projects, 3 big LNG plants, 5 new coal mines, bunch of new railway lines and port upgrades. That was 116 billion that was delivered work over a 5-year period. Now, this time we're looking at this stage, it's a similar number in terms of funded work that needs to be done. And these are all in 2024 dollar figures. So it's a big amount of work. We have done it before. Can we do it again? I definitely can, but we need to be more productive. We need to be more collaborative, and we've got to embrace technology and innovation and in ways that we haven't done before.
And productivity has been a huge issue, hasn't it, sort of in Queensland, but I think Australia-wide, where, in some projects we're getting 2.5 days a week of productivity versus, you'd be hoping for at least 4.5.
Well, yeah, and that's a big issue for the industry. I measure productivity as an output per your input. And so the simplest way of doing it is to look at how much did you produce per year for the number of people that were employed. And it's really interesting when you look at the numbers. Between 2005 and 2010, we averaged around about 1.4 million per person as an output.
Right.
This is just engineering construction work. So this is all your roads, bridges, dams, railways, that kind of stuff. When we then went and did the energy and resources boom, we averaged around about 2.1 to 2.2 million per person per year. But the last 5 years, we've averaged 820,000 per person per year.
It's a huge difference.
It's a huge difference, but we are doing very, very similar work to what we were doing pre-2010. But we're doing it less productively, and we haven't learned any of the lessons out of that boom period. We've dropped off. Now, it's interesting when you then go and look at other sectors like building and residential construction, and residential includes high-rise and detached housing. Residential construction was sitting around about that 900,000 per person per year as an output for a long period of time. Last 5 years, it's averaged 670,000. It's dropped off significantly as well. The building construction sits around about 380 to 400,000 a year. It's just dawdling along. So there are massive improvements we can make.
Yeah, it's
and
interesting.
We need to.
Yeah, it's interesting. I was speaking to a developer in Hutchies the other week, actually, and they were saying, if we can get it done quicker, obviously the price of the unit per unit comes down, because if you're delivering it 20% quicker, it hits the market quicker. You don't have to finance the project, and it becomes better off for everyone involved.
It's time is money in construction, especially when your overheads or your indirects on site are so high. So if I hark back to the 10, 15 years ago, our indirects on a major job were running at about 20, 25%. Today they're running at 35 to 45%.
It's huge.
And so every day it goes longer, your costs are 1.45 times.
Yep.
So it's ridiculous. So we need to be stripping a lot of the stuff out that we don't need to be. We need to be more efficient. And that comes down to a lot of the specifications and the way contracts are written, in that, you will have this number of people on site. Well, what if I don't need them? But the contract says you must.
Yep.
So in the end, the client, in a lot of cases, the taxpayer, is paying for superfluous stuff that we don't need when we're delivering. We can do it far more efficiently.
And then you look at, the construction sector employs sort of 10% of the population. Supply and demand pushes those costs out. There's got to be some solutions there. I mean, we touched on it, I think, previously when we'd had a discussion around, that unbelievable stadium that they built completely modular from a technology perspective. But then, we as a business, we've got a fairly decent mobility position because we've got all the Pacific, we've got Asia, we bring in from the Philippines into New Zealand, we've got the Trans-Tasman Agreement ourselves in between New Zealand and Australia, so we can bring highly skilled people in across there. So from a mobility play, we're comfortable with where we're sitting to be able to supply to our major contracting clients that we've dealt with for 15, 20 years. But that supply and demand is just going to become more pressure, isn't it? When the labour makes up the biggest component of anything.
Yeah, and look, we do this thing, the Major Projects Pipeline Report, every year, and CSQ do the labour analysis in it for us, and they identified, if we were to deliver everything in the pipeline, we'd need up to, I think it was 45,000 workers. Currently, just doing the major engineering construction work, we currently have around 15 to 18,000 doing it.
Yeah.
But that's predicated on current productivity levels.
Yeah.
So if we improve our productivity levels, those numbers come down dramatically. And the way I've said it, and we've done our own analysis on this, is that if we're able to increase productivity in the engineering construction sector, even across the board, by 10% in terms of an output per person, and increase the number of people in the industry, the labour, by 10%, we can deliver everything in the pipeline.
Yeah.
That's the simple maths of it. Very easy to say, very hard to do. Even if we increase productivity through the roof, you're still going to need more labour. That's just the factor of it. So, yes, we need to be looking at where we can bring labour in from other markets. And for quite a period of time here, our markets that we've always gone to for, project management, project engineering capability out of the UK and the US, they're markets that are in construction phases at the moment too. So there's not necessarily being able to tap into that. New Zealand, not so much at the moment. So we can probably bring a few more, unfortunately, All Black supporters across here. But that's a small market. It's 3.5, 4 million people compared to here where we're 26 or 27 million or something.
Yeah, I mean, we looked at that business that we've got in New Zealand, which brings in skilled trades from overseas into New Zealand because the visa system is a lot easier to deal with over there. People that have done 5 or 10 years out in Japan or Middle East and then into there, they're really replacing the Kiwis that are coming here because last year alone there's a 55% increase in Kiwis coming to Australia on the 5-year average. So, the pay rates are good here. The opportunity is endless, and you're probably seeing it as well. You're getting contractors from Victoria and whatnot, bringing their whole teams up to Queensland because they know, as you said, there's a huge pipeline of work, but surely there's going to be some hangover after the Olympics. Big hangover of 30 plus billion hangover of other stuff to do around the edges.
Well, you made a comment about mobility before, and I hark back to when we did quite a bit of construction work in that sort of 2005 to 2010, and that really amped up when we hit the energy and resources boom. What was interesting was that New South Wales and Victoria weren't doing a lot in that period of time. So we had project management and trade and labour resources, moving to Queensland and moving to WA at the time. So we resourced those. Queensland and WA resourced a lot from the southern states. Then post 2015-16, we dropped off and New South Wales and Victoria picked up. So we had this movement of, key staff, resources, trades, skills going south. And, the joke used to be that if you wanted to run into an engineer or a project manager, you went to the Qantas Club on a Sunday night or on Monday morning, and the same in the Virgin Lounge. And because there was a mass movement what's happening now is that whilst we're really starting to ramp up now, we're in that ramp up phase, we haven't seen those programs in New South Wales and Victoria die off yet.
No.
And when they start doing things like as stupid as suburban rail loop, and I ran a rail project in Melbourne when it was announced, and I thought, this is a waste of money. You could do it with a tram or a bus, but that's still going to pull labour. Whereas when I think back to the period when we built the infrastructure we needed for the 2000 games in Sydney, Queensland and Victoria died down so that the resources could come to Sydney to help build.
Yeah.
We need to do the same now. This needs to be a national effort. We've also got the big AUKUS program that's going to be going on in WA and South Australia.
Yep.
We can't be affording to compete for a finite resource all the time. We've got to be flexible. Now, what I don't want to see happen in Queensland is what happened in New South Wales post 2000 games. And I don't think we will see that this time. I think we're going to see quite a few projects be moved out a little bit, and they're already starting to see that, so that they hit the market in that 2031-32 period when some of the big works, for the games, all the works will be pretty much done by early to mid 31.
Yeah.
So then we can start to ramp up doing other stuff. Will it be at the same level? Probably not, but I don't think we will see the dramatic drop that we saw in Sydney post 2000, where there was just nothing going on for about 6 or 7 years.
Yeah, I suppose the concern is as well, if mining goes through the roof at the exact same time, then you've got that battle again for resources.
Yeah. We are a little bit more diversified in our economy in Queensland, in that the resources sector is a big, investor.
Yep.
Now, if the markets are turning and the global markets start to return to a bit more stability, we'll see a lot more investment come back into that, whether that be base metals, rare earths, critical minerals, and coal.
Yeah,
and oil and gas, as they talk about the Taroom Trough is.
Yeah.
It's a resource that's been known for a long time. It's just tighter oil, and now the cost position in the global economy starts to make it well and truly worthwhile.
Yep.
And getting some sovereign capability back again.
Yeah. And then we look at, I suppose, technology and advancements, and you touched on it earlier. We're not utilising them to get our productivity up. You'd spoken to me previously. They just built a stadium over in the UK, completely modular. Looks better than Suncorp Stadium. It's unbelievable. Probably, I think you'd know more stats on it, but it holds similar. But I think they were 2.5 years on site, weren't they?
So that was the new stadium for Everton in Liverpool. It was on the docks. So in the time period on site was 2 years, 7 months. I think it's about a year of prep work before because we're an old dock area there to reclaim. But even so, it's a fairly short period of time. Why? Because they basically prefabricated and modularised the stadium, whether that be the toilet blocks, whether that be the corporate suites, everything was designed from an assembly perspective rather than stick building. They were able to bring big modules in. They built them in the factory, brought them onto site, and basically put it together like a Lego set.
Yeah, it's
but it was a pre-assembled Lego set. And what it enabled them to do was go faster, be more efficient in the use of the labour. They still had to use labour. They still had cranes on site, but they're able to plan and design in how they were going to build it, because this is how we're going to build it, so the design suited it, rather than trying to retrofit a design to suit how you might try and build it. So I think there's some really good lessons out of that. I think great lessons potentially for projects like some of the stuff we need to build for the games, the Brisbane Stadium, the Aquatic Centre, and others. Of course, they don't have the benefit of being right beside a waterway where you can float modules in or bring them. What they'll have to do is bring them in smaller parts from the factory and then assemble them on site, then do the lifts that they need.
Yeah.
But equally, that means that you can be more efficient as well and safer. It wasn't just that stadium, the new Kai Tak Stadium in Hong Kong. The whole roof structure was built off site, floated into site on barges, and then rather than using big, heavy crawler cranes to lift it, they jacked it up inside a frame. So some really innovative thinking is going on around the world that is smart. It's prefabrication, it's modularisation. We're starting to see the emergence of robotics and a lot more automation into construction around the world. Does that mean we're going to see Terminator on construction sites? I doubt it. But what it will do is help us enhance how we do our construction more safely and more efficiently, which means productivity.
And that automation is really jumping, in bounds, isn't it, currently across the world?
The AI side of things is really starting to ram home now, and in various other industries. And that's why we've got such a big growth in data centers, because you need them to be able to power do all the AI calcs and blah, blah, blah. When I look at the opportunities, we've got back of house, which we can improve, and that's a lot of your indirects and things like that. On site, though, it's often very hard to replace someone. Yep. But there are robotics and automation that start to do it. So out of the US now, there's a robotics on gantries that will read the digital model for the reinforcing steel. It will place the reinforcing steel, and it will then tie the reinforcing steel. It works. It's a battery electric, works on a gantry. So it can do work 24 hours a day. It doesn't matter whether it's over 30 degrees or it's raining or it's night. It will work. So, and let's be honest, placing and tying reinforcing steel is a heavy activity. It's a dangerous activity, and there's high slips, trips and falls, and you're playing with steel. So, there's a lot of abrasions and things like that. So if you can replace that with robotics, you're going to speed up your cycle time, be it on floors like this in buildings or on bridge decks or whatever. So that the guys who are doing the reinforcing steel will now be checking, will now be overseeing that equipment, or going ahead and doing stuff the robotics and the automation can't do.
Yeah.
So it's not just in the factory, but it's also on site as well. And their factory gives us the opportunity to do a lot of stuff automated. Prefabrication, modularisation can be done very autonomously in factories. So we can then redeploy that labour into other activities because we have a finite resource.
Yeah, and we talk about AI, the construction sector, and I suppose a future in the construction sector is huge on the fact that, my father was a plumber. Plumbers, electricians and carpenters are going to get paid more than lawyers in the long run, if they're not already.
Yeah. Well, mind you, I did get a bill from a lawyer from the other day, and I went,
you know what I mean? The AI is going to reduce their opportunity. I think from a lawyer's perspective.
Yeah, from a lawyer's perspective.
Where hands-on roles that the blue-collar construction sector offers, it's going to take a while before AI removes it.
And we, as a construction industry, have been a technology laggard and continue to be. Will I think it will replace everyone? No. Will it help with repetitive tasks in the industry and making them safer and more productive? Yes.
Yep.
Will it happen overnight? No. But it's got to take a willingness from the client, the engineer or engineers and architects, and the contractors and suppliers and subcontractors to embrace the stuff and bring it on. The critical thing to making it happen, in my view, is collaborative procurement.
Yeah.
Because if we sit there and have clients who sit there and go, here's your tender documents, I'm going to give you 8 weeks to give me as close to a lump sum price as you can. And by the way, you can't rely on any of the documentation I've given you. What the hell could go wrong?
Yeah.
We've got to move away from that. We've got to have the clients, the engineers, architects, and other stakeholders heavily ensconced together, one-on-one with your preferred party who's going to deliver the work, because proper planning prevents poor performance. Now, Bent Flyberg in his book talks about it: think slow, act fast. And he says projects that fail have just rushed headlong into delivery without thinking about how they're going to execute. And that doesn't mean, another effort of ABC, another bloody consultant. But what it does mean is that you have your contractors, your consultants together, and your client planning how you're going to do it. And he said in his book, he talked about one of the greatest examples of that was the Empire State Building, where the contractor was heavily involved with the architect to actually go, how are we going to assemble this? So they knew where every nut needed to go, where every bolt needed to go, where every girder was prefabricated, so that when it got on site, they knew where that one was going, boom, boom, boom. So it went up quickly. Now, granted, their safety was appalling, and I've seen videos of that, and Rockefeller with guys walking on girders, no protection, just does my stomach. I'm not advocating that, no way in the world. It's the thinking and that approach that we need to be embracing more, which means getting the contractors embedded one-on-one early with your client, the engineers, the architects, to plan out how you're going to build it. And that then goes into your design. So it's upfront and it's integrated all the way through.
Are we doing enough of it? Heading into, like, we've got times of essence now, heading into the Olympics, everyone seems pretty comfortable that we're going to get it done because their reputation's on the line. Do you think we're doing enough from that side, from the planning and the working with the contractors to ensure that we get it? That I think it's going to, like, you look at just the stadium alone, it's going to be unbelievable for Brisbane to have such a stadium right in the guts of the city, similar to an MCG in Melbourne. Yep. So it's game changing for the city. But are we planning enough? Do we have enough time to be able to plan properly?
My answer to that is, if you don't have time to plan properly, don't do the project.
Yeah.
They are planning. Everyone gets focused on the games, and the games is this big, sexy thing. I'd like to remind everyone that when you consider all the investment into the games, be it not just the $7.1 billion for the permanent facilities, plus all the temporary stuff we have to do, and the villages and the arenas and everything, comes to about 12 odd billion. Yeah. There's a $140 billion pipeline.
Yeah.
So it's literally about just under 10% over the next 6 years. So do I think we are doing enough of it? No. Do I think we're doing it well in pockets? Yes. Can we do it better? Yes. Certainly on the games front at the moment, they have 2 shortlisted contracting JVs bidding for the stadium. They are embedded in an early contractor involvement phase, an ECI phase. Their plan is to have a preferred contractor by mid-year, sometime in the mid-year period, and then they will work through how they're going to be executing and delivering it, so that when they start on site in 27, they can then go fast. Because when I look at Brisbane's, the site for the stadium at Vicky Park, you've got a lot of open space there to lay down to prep how you're going to build it. It's a lot easier than doing, say, rebuilding Suncorp Stadium, where you're very confined urban location. It's about a 4-year D&C build. So, yes, we've got time. But if we rush headlong in without thinking about how you're going to do it properly, that's when problems happen.
Yeah.
Certainly Geeka is taking that, and they're trying to move forward with more ECI approaches. And I hope that spreads across all the program, not just the big ones like the stadium and the swimming centre.
And I think, a lot of contractors, smaller contractors, will be holding off because they know that there's 110 billion worth of work around the edges as well, won't they?
Oh, and there's residential stuff. There's, we're short on hotels, dramatically short on hotel rooms in southeast Queensland. I think the number was something like about 20 to 25,000 key rooms short. So there's a lot to get done. We're not going to fill all of that in the next 6 years.
No.
But there will be a lot of work in that space. There's the health program, there's the transport infrastructure investment that's ongoing, energy transition, there's the games, and there's the water sector, which everyone seems to conveniently forget about. Yeah. But that's an area that's got a massive amount of investment in front of it as well. We've got a dam safety upgrade program in the state, which I think totals somewhere about 25 billion to be done over the next 15, 20 years. That's a lot of money a year.
Yeah, it's huge. And you look at the shortfall of staff, there's multiple numbers that have been thrown out there, but sort of circa over 50,000 staff potentially that we're short at the moment. And I'd imagine that's just going to expand over the next 5 years and get larger and larger if we can't get a run on it. And I'm seeing some of our clients are already starting to hoard staff at the moment, coming into knowing the fact that there's going to be more and more pressure. We're seeing a lot of the early work stuff they're hooking right in now to make sure that they get it done before some of the other major works happens. You touched on it before, the southern states moving up here. Where else do you see opportunities from that side?
the Infrastructure Australia stuff says 54,000 short, and that's across the entire building and construction industry. As I said, that's predicated on current productivity levels.
Yeah, true.
We improve them, those numbers come down dramatically. But to answer your question there, adjacent markets, New Zealand through the Pacific, for sure. I think just for the fact that there is an Olympic build program going on, you will be able to attract from the European markets, potentially the North American markets, Canada, US, those markets in time. Just because people like to come and work on, I was part of that. So it does attract. Ireland's always been a market that we've been able to pull fairly heavily from. That seems to be a pretty strong pipeline still. We're just going to have to, from a unskilled, partially skilled labour, the Pacific, and skilled labour as well. We're already seeing companies from Korea and Japan start to knock on our door and say, what's going on in here? Can we be part of it?
Yeah, and is there an opportunity there? Like if it, the visas to bring in a 482 visa person, you're looking at $12,000 to $15,000, $18,000 just to bring someone in, which comparatively pushing into the Olympics probably isn't that big a number, but it is a big number for smaller businesses that are still playing in the space. Right. And do you think there'll be an opportunity for a potential, Olympic visa or changing the Dharma so the Dharma covers the whole of Queensland rather than rural and remote areas, or an emergency visa, or like at some stage, if the numbers aren't hitting their quantity, they're going to have to, the government's going to have to support there. And I know that, we've got Liberal in Queensland and Labor federally. It'd be interesting to see how that plays out.
I think I know they're already talking about that. So, about an Olympic related or Olympic infrastructure related type of category. So there's already works underway in that area to look at that kind of stuff. Let's be honest, we've got 280,000 people employed in the construction industry in Queensland. It's about, as you said, it's about 15% of we will tap out. Even if Victoria and New South Wales just dead stopped, we still will be short. So we need to be looking at those other markets, and we need to be looking at those kind of visa arrangements. I do know that it is a discussion topic with government at the moment, and all levels of government are in discussion about what they can do and what is practical.
Yeah, we're definitely having discussions and sort of also highlighting sort of the New Zealand visa scheme and how efficiently that works to them, as well as obviously we're the largest player in the PALM scheme, so giving them some opportunity to extend that into the construction sector at a lower level skill base would make sense, and then obviously being able to bring 482s in efficiently and quickly. Obviously, there's some good areas that we can push the button on if we get the opportunity.
And you think about some of the energy transition stuff, like we've got to do 10,000 kilometres of high voltage transmission line on the East Coast over the next 15 years or something like that. We don't have the stringers to be able to do it. Yet those highly skilled string technicians come from the likes of Indonesia, the Philippines, those kind of countries where, we should be tapping into that labour set and bringing that out and upskilling locally, but understand that this is a big lift up. It's not going to be there forever. It'll come off. So we need to have the maintenance and the ongoing sustaining workers there. But that lift up, we'll have some of that will have to be filled, for stringers and the like, will have to be filled by some of those skilled workers from overseas. We have to be realistic about it.
Yeah. I mean, immigration's on the nose at the moment, but realistically, if you look at the number of skilled visas that are coming in versus, let's say, a student visa, it's a very small percentage.
And the universities have made a complete business model out of having students come over. And they come over, they do our degrees, and they conveniently leave.
Rude. Mate, thanks heaps for your time. Really appreciate it, because I know you're such flat out and it's probably the busiest time.
Oh, no, happy to have a chat. This has been fun.
I don't think we need to have our fingers crossed, because we've got some of the greatest contractors in Queensland that can deliver, as well as international support. So it's probably one of the most exciting times for Queensland by a long shot. And you're, you heading up that major contractors in Queensland is a pretty exciting time for yourself. So thanks heaps for your time, and coming on the couch for a quick convo.
No problem. Thanks, Tom.
Excellent,
and
mate.
it is a good fun time. It's a great time to be around the industry, and companies like yours, have a very important role to play in that labour side and bringing that skilled and unskilled labour in. Because if we don't get it, regardless of how we improve, with technology or productivity, we're going to need more people, and we're going to need them from outside of this country and also within. But I'm really looking forward to it. It's a massive challenge for us, and I'm certain we can do it. Just got to get the best people involved.
Yeah, and if you're a young kid out there, get sign up and get a trade done.
Yeah, get a trade, get into construction anyway.
Yeah.
If you're interested in engineering, go and do it. If you're interested in surveying, go and do it. If you're interested in architecture, oh, geez, I don't know. I'm kidding. But if you're interested in that area, the time is now.
Yeah.
The opportunities are there, and get involved.
Yeah. Brilliant. Thanks, mate.
No
Appreciate your
problem.
time.
Thank you.